today we're going to walk through how to use Git with your Ionic 2 projects. So if you haven't used Git before, essentially it's a version control, revision control tool that you can use basically for any kind of code you have. But of course we can use it in our Ionic 2 projects. So it allows you to back up your code. You can push it to some repository somewhere. So if you ever lose that, you can easily get it back. It provides revision control. So if you were to make some changes to your project which ruined it, starts breaking something, you don't know what's going wrong, you can always roll back to a previous version, then you can go back forward again to the latest version. So it makes things a lot easier to manage. And it also allows you to share your code with other people, have them work on it on their own computers, push that code back to a single repository where you can both work on this simultaneously without sort of getting in each other's way too much. This tutorial isn't going to go in depth into how to use Git and all its features because there is a lot of things you can do with Git. This is going to mainly just focus on how to use it specifically with Ionic 2 and what you need to do to get it working. So we're going to go through two main things. We're going to look at how to set up Git on our own project and push that to a repository somewhere. And we're also going to look at then how we could pull someone else's code down to our computer and start working on that. So to start off with, I'm just going to create a fresh new project and then we're going to set Git up in that. So I'm just going to call this one Ionic 2 Git. Just use a blank template. It doesn't really matter because we're not going to be coding in it. So we'll just generate that. Okay, the application is finished generating now. So I'm just going to change into the project we just created, which was Ionic 2 Git. And now we're going to set up Git from the command line here. So you'll need Git installed to be able to use the Git command. So if you haven't done that yet, just Google how to do it and it should run you through those steps. Once you have got it installed, to initialize a new Git repository with this project, you'll need to run git init. So we'll run that. And now we have a Git repository set up locally on our machine. So if I run git status now, it should tell me some information about what's going on. So currently I don't have any tracked files, I just have an empty Git initialized. So if I want to now add the files of this project to that, I can run the git add command, which you can supply a file to. But in this case, we want to add everything in our project. So we can just use a dot there, and that'll add all the files in the project. And Ionic has it set up so that it doesn't include files we don't need. So if you're using an Ionic 2 project, you'll have a node modules folder, which is going to contain lots and lots of files which take up a lot of space. So we don't want to push all those to the repository. We only want the files we are actually working with. So that will just automatically ignore all those, so you don't have to worry about them getting pushed up. Once we've added some files to our Git repository, we need to commit them. So this will allow us to then push that later. So everything that's changed, we want to commit it, which right now is everything because we've just pushed an entirely new project. So we run git commit and then -m to provide a message for that specific commit. And in this case, we'll just write initial commit because it's the first thing we're pushing. We're just uploading everything at once, and you'll probably see that used a lot in other repositories. So that's committed everything now. So what we can do is now push that code somewhere. So a lot of people use GitHub and a lot of people use BitBucket. I use BitBucket to do that just because it is free, whereas GitHub isn't for private repositories. So this is a really good option if you want to use that, but you're welcome to use GitHub if you want. It's essentially the exact same process. So before we can actually push our code to this repository, and you don't need to push it anyway necessarily, you can just work with Git locally, but most of the time you'll want to set this up on either GitHub or BitBucket. So I'm going to create a new repository in BitBucket. Of course, I already have an account created here, so you have to do that if you haven't already. And then once you're logged in, you'll be able to create a new repository through this repositories menu. I'm already on the screen now because I didn't want to put all of my repositories on video, so I'm just jumping straight into this screen. So just give it a name, give the repository a name. We'll just call it the same as our project, Ionic to Git. Set it to a private repository if you want, or if you want to make it public to everybody, untick that, and then anybody will be able to see your code through BitBucket. Have it set to Git, and then click Create Repository. Okay, so this is our repository on BitBucket now. So if we go into the source, this is all the source files for the project, and of course right now there's nothing here. So what we want to do is get our local Git repository connected to this, so we can push to it and pull from it. And if we wanted to work with other people, we could do that as well. So down here they have a getting started with command line little tutorial. So we have an existing project. We've already initialized that Git repository. So just click on that option, and then it just gives you some information on how to get that set up on BitBucket. So all you need to do is change to that project directory, which we've already done, and then run these two commands. So we want to add this URL as the remote repository, and then we want to push up all of our code to here. So let's first just run that code. That command rather. And then this second one as well. Okay, so that's going through the process of uploading all those files now. So it might take a little bit. Okay, so that's finished uploading now. So if we jump back into our remote repository on BitBucket, if I refresh this source, you can see that the Ionic project is there now. So you can see the source file and everything is as it should be. If I open up that project now, you can see here that we have a bunch of files here that aren't stored on BitBucket. And so this is what I was talking about before, where there's a git ignore file here which says, which tells Git what we do and don't want to upload, or rather specifically what we don't want to upload to the remote repository. And so all we really need in this case is the source file and the resources folder and all these files here. And so this is going to cause problems later for people if they want to use this code. If they just pull that down to their machine and start trying to use it right away, it's not going to work. There's something else we need to do first. So we're going to go over how to do that in just a bit. But first, I just want to show you a couple more things here. So we have our code here. If I open up the command line now and run git status, it's going to tell me what's going on in our Git repository. So it says we're on the master branch and everything's up to date. There's nothing to commit. So everything we've done is pushed and it's all fine. So now we might want to make some changes and upload those as well. So if I just come into, I'll just change one of the pages here. So I'll just add some function, literally, here. So I've made some change to my project now, and I want to push that up to our remote repository. And it's good workflow to sort of push things as you go. Each sort of feature that you create, you should commit that and push it. So that way it makes it really easy to unwind things you've done rather than doing one big mega commit that contains everything. So if I come in here now and say git status again, we see we've got a modified file now. We've changed the home.ts file. So we can now add that change to our local repository running the git add command again. And you can, if you like, specifically provide the path to that file to commit just that file. Or usually you'll just want to add everything in this case. So we'll do git add all, which the dot represents. Now that's added everything. Again, we can run git status to see what's going on. We can see that we have some changes to be committed now. And so we're going to do that by running the git commit command again. And again, providing a message to that. So we'll say that we added some function. And now that is ready to be pushed back to the remote repository. So we can run the git push command. And now that's going through the same process that happened before with the initial commit. It's pushing all those changes up to the remote repository. And so if I open this up again now, go into the source folder, find that change we made, we should be able to see it there. I'll give it a refresh. Okay, I had to refresh that again, but now you can see that some function has been added to this file and it's now in the remote repository. So basically that's the process that you'll follow when working with Git. You make some change, run git add, git commit, git push, and then just repeat that for each new feature that you're adding to the application. There are some more advanced features you can use with Git, like creating new branches. If you want to work on a new feature without affecting the main code, you kind of just work in your own little sub-branch of that, the main code. So that way, if you're breaking things are going wrong, it doesn't really matter because you're in your own separate branch. You can do that, and I would recommend just Googling how to do that. It's a bit more complicated than I want to get into in this tutorial. But you don't need to do those things if you want. If you're just working by yourself, working with the master branch is usually fine. If you're working with other people, maybe you want to start looking into using some branches. So the next thing that we're going to do is show how to pull some code from BitBucket locally to your computer. So maybe someone else has created a project that you want to grab and work on your computer. So what we're going to do is just delete that project we created. So it's gone from the computer now, and we're going to pull it in from BitBucket again. So again, that's great if as a backup sort of solution. If you lost that folder on your computer, somehow got deleted, your hard drive got wiped, it's not an issue because you can just go grab it from BitBucket or GitHub or wherever it's stored. But you can also grab other people's code as well if they want to share that with you. So let's jump into BitBucket here. And what we're going to do is clone this. So if you click on this clone section here, it'll give you a URL and a command here that says git clone. So we can grab a remote repository and download it by running git clone and then supplying the link, the URL to that repository. So if we run this command, I just had to jump back into the video folder because I trashed the other folder before going back out of it. So I'm in that same folder I originally created the project in, but if I look at what's in there now, that project is deleted. So what we're going to do is now pull it from BitBucket. So I'm going to paste that clone command that I just copied from BitBucket, and if I run that, that's going to start pulling down all of that code. Okay, so that's finished downloading that now. So if I check in the folder again, I can see the project's back now. But we're missing a bunch of stuff that was there before. We only have those two folders that were uploaded to BitBucket, as well as the few other files as well. So now let's say I want to work on this. If I run, we'll first change into that project and then run Ionic serve, I want to see the application running and working and then being able to work on it. But as you can see here, I got a bunch of errors. And that's because we need to grab those other files and folders like the node modules folder. We need to install all of those node dependencies. And to do that, all we have to do is just run npm install. And that's going to set up everything that we need. Essentially, this is the same process that happens when you generate a new application, a new Ionic 2 application using the command line. So this is going to go through and install everything we need. One thing to keep in mind is that this is only going to install dependencies that are listed in the package.json file. So if you are working with someone else who has installed some dependency that the project needs, but it hasn't included it in the package.json file, it's not going to get installed with this. So there could be problems after running npm install if all the dependencies aren't listed in package.json. So if that's the case, you probably get some errors about some missing things, and you can usually just run the command yourself to install those things or talk to your friend that you're working with, but it's just something to keep in mind. So since this is just a simple blank project, we shouldn't have any issues here. So now that npm install has finished running, if I come back in here, let me just refresh that. There we go. So now we have the node modules file folder with everything we need in here. And as you can see, there's a lot of stuff. So you definitely don't want to be uploading this to BitBucket. So now if I run Ionic serve, everything should hopefully work. We should see the blank application listed showing in the browser. And there it is. And so there's only really one more thing that you really need to know. If you are working with someone else, if you're working on the same project at the same time, there's a chance that you are going to make some changes and push them. They're going to make some changes and push them. And you want to have the same code that they have, essentially. So if you want to pull in some changes that somebody else has made to a repository that you've already downloaded, you can just run these commands. So if you run git fetch, that will pull in all the information you need from the repository. And once that has finished running, you can run the git rebase command. And what this does essentially is, technically speaking, I think it rewinds your changes. So it gets rid of any changes you've done, it pulls in their code, applies any changes that they've made, and then it replays your changes on top of that. So you'll have all of their changes plus all of your changes added to it. So you can see how Git for this that sort of environment, working with more than one person, is super useful because you don't have to worry about manually updating your code based on what someone else is doing. It handles everything for you automatically. There are some cases, of course, where you might be editing the same thing and Git can't handle that, merging those two things automatically. In that case, you'll get a conflict and you might need to do some manual editing to tell Git what is the correct code. But again, it's a little bit more complicated than I wanted to get into for this tutorial. So just Google that. There's plenty of resources available for how to solve merge conflicts with Git. So I hope this tutorial was useful for you. If you have never used Git before, hopefully you can see the benefits of using it. Even if you are just working by yourself, it's definitely worth checking it out. And definitely if you are trying to work in a team environment. As I mentioned, there's a ton more things you can do with Git, like rolling back code to certain commits. So just Google a guide to getting started with Git. It should run through some common commands. The ones I've shown you already are basically all you'll need to do the basic stuff. But if you want to do the more complicated stuff, then you definitely want to look at a few different tutorials. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.